Hey, it's Matt Bowles, and this is 3 real estate investing lessons I wish I knew. My guest today is Mark Podolsky, aka the Land Geek. He has been investing in real estate for over 20 years and has secured over 6,500 deals with an average return of over 300%. He has bought and sold over 1 million acres of raw land and made over $20 million in profit as a real estate investor. He is the owner of Frontier Properties, a land investment company, and is widely considered one of the country's foremost authorities on buying and selling raw land undeveloped within the United States. He is the author of the book Dirt Rich, the ultimate guide to helping you build passive income, and he is the host of the top-rated podcast, The Art of Passive Income. Mark, welcome to the show.
Matthew Bowles, I'm such a fan, brother. It's good to be back.
You know, this particular historical moment is significant for us. This is the 10-year anniversary of the first time I appeared as a guest on your podcast.
Yeah, it's crazy. And you were in South Africa, and I was so enamored with you and your lifestyle. I'm like, one day I want to grow up and be Matthew Bowles.
And sure enough, you are now traveling the world yourself, spending a month in Bali, a month in Europe, and doing all the things with your real estate passive income. And I want to start this conversation just giving folks a little context before you became the Land Geek. Can you give a little background on Mark Podolsky, where you grew up, and then how you initially got into your very first real estate investment?
Yeah, so I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri, the show me state. And even as a kid, I was entrepreneurial. I was like 11 years old. I had a lemonade stand, and I think 12, I was going door to door. I started like Big Guy Cookie Company. It was all profit because I'm using my parents and our neighbors like raw goods, and and people would just buy because like we were cute kids going door to door. And then I was like the corsage mafia in high school. So if you wanted to get a corsage or boutonniere, I locked up all the floors. So you had to order through me, and I got a commission. And so I've always been entrepreneurial. And then, I went to college, and I was sort of enamored with business, and I got a job as an investment banker, specializing in mergers and acquisitions with private equity groups. And Matthew, I hated it. I don't know if you remember the story, but I had a 45-minute commute to work and back. I was micromanaged, and I wouldn't get the Sunday blues anticipating Monday coming around. I had the Friday blues anticipating the weekend going by really fast and having to be back at work on Monday. So my firm hired this guy, and is saying as a side hustle, he was buying up raw land, pennies on the dollar. He was flipping them online, and he's making a 300% return on his money. And Matthew, I'm looking at companies all day long, and a great company, had 15% EBITDA margins or free cash flow. The average company was 10%. And I'm looking at companies all day long, less than 10%. So of course, I'm from Missouri. I don't believe him. So I have $3,000 saved up for car repairs. I go to New Mexico with him. I buy 10 half-acre parcels at an average price of $300 each. I flip them online, and they all sell for an average price of $1,200 each. It worked. So I took all that money. I went to another auction where I live in Arizona. And again, this is 2000, and there's no one in the room, and I'm buying lots and acreage for nothing. And I made over $90,000 on that one auction. So I go to my pregnant wife. I say, honey, I'm going to quit my job and become a full-time land investor. And she says, absolutely not. So I said, okay. So it took 18 months for the land investing income to exceed the investment banking income. And then I quit, and I've been doing it full-time ever since.
Can you talk about that journey and how you went from that very first deal to actually scaling it up to the level where you were able to leave your job and do it full time?
Yeah. So I really thought when I started my own business, I had a business. And so I go and I meet my buddy, his name's Ori. He sold his company for $365 million to Equifax. Experian. He sold it to Experian. And so we're talking about business and we're out to coffee and I said something about, how great my business is going. He's like, well, walk me through what you do all day. I'm like, well, I do this and I do that. And then he's like, stop. He's like, you don't have a business. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, what happens to your so-called business if you're not doing all these things? I'm like, but I make my own hours. He's like, so what? You have a better job than the investment banking job, but you still don't have a business. It's like a business is something that you build that's bigger than yourself. And at that time, Steve Jobs was alive, but he used Steve Jobs as an example. He's like, do you think if Steve Jobs dies, Apple's going to go and die? He's like, no. He's like, what happens to your family if you die? He's like, you have no business. So I'm like, well, how do I create a business? He's like, well, you got to create systems. You have to have team and you have to, delegate and then you're the CEO and then you have something that's bigger than you. That's a business. Like, okay. So step by step, I start having coffee with Ori and he kind of walked me through how to do it. It took 5 years of building systems and making mistakes and getting business road rash before I was at that point where, like now I'm working literally about 4 hours a month in my land business.
So can you break down the anatomy of a deal? So a lot of people listening to this for the first time and hearing this are probably going to be like Mark Podolsky from St. Louis the first time he heard about this.
Right.
300% return. That sounds crazy. If that was possible, everyone would be doing it. That sounds like more than Warren Buffett is making. So what's the deal there? What is the anatomy of a deal? How do you get those types of returns? What types of risks likely come along with that people need to mitigate? Break down for us how you are doing these deals.
Okay, so let's use you as a case study. I'll walk you down step by step. So Matthew, you're currently in North Carolina, right?
Right.
But I don't know where you always live, but let's just say you're in North Carolina. And so let's assume that you own 5 acres of raw land in Colorado and you owe $200 in back taxes. So you're advertising 2 important things to me. Number one, you have no emotional attachment to the raw land. You're in North Carolina, the property's in Colorado. And number two, you're financially distressed in some weird way because when we don't pay our property taxes, we don't value it in the same way. And as a result, the county treasurer keeps sending you a notice saying, Matthew, if you don't pay your property taxes, you're going to lose that property to a tax deed or a tax lien investor. So all I'm going to do is look at the comparable sales on your 5-acre parcel for the last 12 to 18 months. I'm going to look for the lowest comparable sale. Let's just use easy math. Let's say it's $10,000. And then we're divide by 4. So that gives me what Warren Buffett would call a 300% margin of safety. So I send you an offer for $2,500. Now you accept it. Why? Because for you, $2,500 is better than nothing. In reality, 3 to 5% of people accept my quote unquote top dollar offer. But now that you've accepted it, I have to go through due diligence or in-depth research. I have to confirm you still own the property. I have to confirm the back taxes are only $200. I have to make sure there's been no breaks in the chain of title, no liens or encumbrances. So I outsource this to my team in Jamaica, and it costs about $11. They're connected to an American title company, and they do all the title work for me. Now, if it was, say, more than $5,000, I wouldn't take any title risk. I would close traditionally through a title company. But this is only $2,500. I'll take a little bit of risk. Let's assume everything checks out. And they're doing, by the way, while they're doing my due diligence, they're also creating my marketing package at the same time because I'm getting the aerial maps, the satellite maps, and the plat maps, and I'm understanding everything that's going on with that piece of raw land. So now I send you a check for $2,300. I send the treasurer a check for $200. I own it free and clear. And now I'm going to sell it 30 days or less. I'm going to make a cash flow like a rental home. So Matthew, I have a built-in best buyer. Do you remember who it is?
Who?
The neighbors. The neighbors. So I'm going to send out neighbor letters saying, here's your opportunity, protect your privacy, protect your views, know your neighbor. So oftentimes the neighbors will buy. If they don't buy, I'll go to my buyers list. The buyers list doesn't buy, go to a little website you may have heard of. It's called Meta or Facebook buy-sell groups in the marketplace. I might go to Craigslist and then I'll go to the lands, land.com, landmodo.com, landandfarm.com. landflip.com, landcentury.com. These are platforms where people buy and sell raw land. But the secret is in the pricing. So all I'm going to ask for is a $2,500 down payment. And then I'll ask for a car payment, let's say $249 a month and 9% interest for the next 60 months. So I get this one-time sale. I get my money out on the down, but I could go 6 to 10 months out. And now I'm getting $249 a month at 9% interest for the next 60 months. Matthew, no renters, no rehabs, no renovations, no rodents. And because I'm not dealing with a tenant, I'm exempt from Dodd-Frank, RESPA, and the SAFE Act. So the game is kind of create enough of these land notes where my passive income exceeds my fixed expenses. And then I'm working because I want to, not because I have to.
All right. Is Mark Podolsky buying all of the land that's available in the United States under this model, or is there opportunities for other people to use and replicate the same model? And is there enough to go around for everyone? I know you have trained and taught some people how to do this. Can you share a little bit about that process? How big is the universe of opportunity here? And then what would be the very first step if somebody wanted to get into this game?
Yeah, it's such a good question. So it's 2011 and I'm on vacation and I get a call from this guy, Tori. And Tori is on my website. I think he wants to buy a piece of land from me. He's like, no, I don't want to buy a piece of land. I want to learn how to do what you do. I'm like, I don't teach people how to do this. He's like, well, what if I pay you this? I'm like, oh, okay. Well, let me get back to you. So I go to my wife. I'm like, honey, this guy Tori wants me to teach him the land business. She's like, absolutely not. She's like, why would you create your own competition? I'm like, good point. Let's put on our investment banker hats. So what's the first thing an investment banker looks at? How big is the market? So as I did my analysis, I realized there's billions of acres of raw land available, even in my niche. You, me, 1 million people could be in this niche. We'll all run out of money before we run out of deal flow. There's no private equity groups. There's no hedge funds. There's no big money in it because they have too much money. These deals are too small. I mean, our average price now is like $5,000. So they have too much money. So to answer your question, it is a massive market. You cannot think of a more boring real estate niche. You're not going to go on HGTV or the DIY network and see flip this land. The before picture's raw land. The after picture's raw land. And so if we went to a RIA conference, a Real Estate Investment Association conference, there might be 100 people there. Most of them will be landlords, flippers, and wholesalers. You and I might be the only land guys there. So it is a massive market. It is an inefficient market. You can't go on Zillow and figure out what the price of the property is. And it's boring. So you have this massive opportunity for the people that get it and understand it.
You wrote a book. I think you've now written more than one book.
I got Dirt Rich and Dirt Rich 2. And I was
Dirt Rich 2. Yeah. I know, man. Yeah. The sequel has come out.
I've got the third one working on it too.
Is it coming?
Dirt Richer, about striving, how to strive like a duck. So to be calm above and peaceful above the water, but like still paddling fiercely below.
So talk about your first two books, the Dirt Rich and Dirt Rich 2. What are they about and how can people get a copy?
So Dirt Rich is where you want to start. And to answer the question, how can they get a copy? I've got, for your listeners, a special link where they can go and get a free book. They just have to pay shipping. So that's where they would get the copy. And I'm happy to do that. So Dirt Rich is really about the model and the basics and the fundamentals of land investing, plus my story and, sort of a cautionary tale of what not to do as well. And then Dirt Rich 2 is, okay, once you've gotten a few deals under your belt, how do you not make the same mistakes I did and build yourself another job? How do you really scale this and make this a business? And then when Dirt Richer comes out, it'll be more mindset.
I am excited about that. Well, I want to ask you now, you have been in this investing game for well over 20 years and have made over $20 million in profit. But I want you to think back over that entire time period and think about the top 3 lessons that you've learned of all of the mistakes you've made, all the education you've gotten, all the learn by doing that has gotten you to the point that you are today. If you were to go all the way back in time and give Mark Podolsky 3 lessons that you wish you knew when you were starting out in this investment game, what would those be? Can you start us off with lesson number 1?
I think the first lesson is get your mind right. And I know it seems so cliche, right? It's like, oh, meditate or pray or whatever it is. But I think that if I was younger and I understood the mental game, the inner game of investing, then I would have been so much more joyful in that process. I wouldn't have been so anxious and so stressed and so attached to this deal or that deal going right. Like I would have seen, okay, this is a game, and deals are like the bus, right? There's another one down the pike, and I think I suffered a lot when I was younger because I was so attached to success and money and deals. And there's a great book by David Brooks called The Second Mountain. Have you read this book?
No.
Okay, so the first mountain is egoic. And it's a very important mountain to climb. Don't get me wrong. Usually, in your 20s and 30s, you're climbing this first mountain. And you're doing what culture says to do. You're doing what your parents said to do. You get a good education. You get a good job. You get the house. You get the cars. You get the kids. You do the vacations. You do all the things that you're supposed to do. You get all the stuff. You get to the top of that mountain, and it's empty. So then you go to the second mountain. And the second mountain is other focused. It's about love and intimacy in your relationships. It's about your faith and spirituality. It's about community. It's about your vocation. This is no longer a job. This is your calling. And it's a much harder mountain to climb, but there is no top to it. And usually around middle age is when you start climbing that second mountain.
Do you have any tactics or techniques that you have discovered along the way, maybe that you're using right now to get and keep your mind right?
So I've been a long time meditator. And I would say that for about 10 years, I was that person that would meditate an hour a day or 20, a minimum of 20 minutes a day, just to be still, just to watch the thoughts, just to get that space that, okay, I'm not my thoughts, I'm not my feelings, and I'm just the one witnessing all of this. And then there comes a time where you graduate from that and every moment is a meditation. Right now, us talking is a meditation. And being totally present with it and being totally aware and watching, like when my mind wanders, when you're saying something and am I really listening, or am I thinking about the next thing I'm going to say? And just observing all of it and being curious about it and not taking any of it, very personally at all. So I did a darkness retreat in Oregon at Sky Cave Retreats. And I did 7 days in the dark. It was just me and my thoughts, total darkness, couldn't see in front of your face. And there you kind of realize the thing that words can't explain, that everyone wants, and then you forget. Like I had it, and then you forget, and then you remember it. But basically, it's just allowing everything to happen, and not judging it, not creating a story of it, right? And that's it. And then, you realize there's peace and there's freedom in every moment, but it takes a long, long time to get there unless you're one of these really lucky people that, either were born with it or, had such suffering that they had some kind of mental thing like Eckhart Tolle did. These are the lucky ones. The rest of us, I think we just have to work at it every day.
All right, Mark, what is lesson number 2?
Lesson number 2 is really you're growing in your team, right? Like it can't just be you, as far as your business is concerned, and really growing a team. And and managing that team. So one of the big mistakes I made when I was growing my business was I'd abdicate and not delegate. So I would just give it to the person and say, go and do it. And there's just no leadership involved in it. There was no accountability involved in it. And then I would get really upset. Like, wait a second, this due diligence report's not correct. Or, you didn't follow up fast enough on that lead, like speed to lead. This is important stuff. And I'd be super frustrated. They're like, well, I didn't know, you just gave it to me. And so stepping back, I realized, okay, to do this properly, you have to have scorecards, you have to have accountability, you have to have stand-ups, you have to have leadership, you need to have a why. They need to understand why they're doing this. And when that happens and everything clicks, getting back to the freedom part, then you become free. And then you can really delegate properly and grow the business.
All right. And lesson number 3, Mark, what would that be?
So business is like hockey in the sense that you're going to get your teeth knocked out. And so do you love what you're doing enough to get back up? And so I think that ultimately, whether it's real estate or any type of endeavor in life, you need to have that grit. You need to have that persistence. You need to have that internal fortitude to keep going. And so oftentimes I think that it's like building a bridge, right? And how many times have you seen people build half a bridge? They're like, oh, this is hard building a bridge. And it's brick by brick by brick. And then something happens, they're like, wait, I want to go to this other bridge. This one will be easier. And then they're like, oh, wait, this one's hard too. And so you've got to have that grit to build the bridge, and then you get to the other side of it.
Well, I also want to ask you about your podcast, The Art of Passive Income. This is an incredibly highly rated podcast. It is one of the longest running real estate podcasts that I know of. I've been on it a couple times,
Yes.
and you are a spectacular host, my friend. But for people that may not yet be familiar with the show, can you talk about the podcast and what people can expect from it, how they can listen?
Yeah. So, of course, the Maverick investor was one of my favorite guests. What we're doing now is something different. We're streaming it live on Tuesday nights via Facebook and Instagram, I think X. So we're like on the socials, we're streaming it live, and it's called Nightcap. So you come with us live, you bring your drink of choice. I'm usually drinking a prebiotic soda called Poppy, which is delicious, by the way. But the other guys who are land investors, they're drinking beer and scotch and other good stuff. So it's really fun. And we spend about an hour interacting with the audience, and we'll talk about something land related is usually the topic. So about 30 minutes of education and then 30 minutes of answering questions live and having a good time.
Well, I want you to share a little bit as well about your lifestyle now. You sort of alluded to how you have been able to reduce your work hours and facilitate both your location independence and your time freedom, and what you are doing with that now, traveling around the world and everything, my friend. Can you give folks a glimpse of basically the end game, why you got into land investing in the first place and what you're now able to do with that passive income business?
Yeah. So my whole goal was to work when I want, where I want, and with whom I want. And now that my kids are grown, I can work where I want. And so I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona, which I absolutely love, especially this time of year. But summer, it's super hot. So every summer, I go and I travel. And this year, we did 2 months in Europe and then a month in Bali. And I got to say, like, working in Europe is amazing because if you have to work US hours, you wake up and the US is asleep and you have from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. to do whatever you want. And then 2 o'clock, people are waking up, and I would work till 10 o'clock, and it's still light out till 9, maybe squeeze in a nice dinner around 8. And then you go to bed at 10:30. There's no wasted time. In the States, I would get tired around 6 o'clock. I'm like, oh, what are we going to do? Are we going to, watch Netflix? It's terrible. It's terrible. So I love working European hours. I was complaining to you about Bali because that was really hard. So you can't work in Asia. So I set it up where I worked very little and just kind of check in async.
Do you have any favorite places that you've been that you just really connected with, were amazingly impactful, and you just still have incredible memories and think about those places?
So Bormio in Italy in the Italian Alps was really special because I went in June. It was shoulder season. It wasn't that busy. So picture like Aspen and the mountains and the beauty and the creeks. And if you hike or bike, it's like Mecca there to be in that nature. And then you're exhausted from it all, and you get like the best pizza and Italian food in the world. It's there in these like little charming places. That's 2,000-year-old, Roman village. It's small, it's quaint. You get to know the locals. Everyone's, kind of friendly after they like see you enough times. And so really immersing in Bormio was super special. I've been to Bali now 3 times. I just love the Balinese people. I think they're the best people on the planet. I just love Bali. It's picture Hawaii and amazing people at a third of the price.
Amazing. Well, you are living the life, my friend. This is exactly why. This is the why we ultimately get into real estate investing, so that we can have more control over our time, travel the world if we want, have the location independence to be where we want, do what we want. And you are an amazing example of that. And your podcast also, I want to highly recommend to people, The Art of Passive Income. Wherever you are listening to this podcast, just type in The Art of Passive Income and that will come up. You can subscribe to it. Definitely encourage people to check that out, because you are an amazing host and you do a fantastic show. How else can people come into your world, learn more about what you're up to? We're going to link up the link in the show notes for where people can get the free book, Dirt Rich. But are you on social media? How else can people find you?
Yeah, I'm on the socials. I'm at The Land Geek. I'm everywhere at The Land Geek. And then so even at our website, thelandgeek.com, you can learn more. We've got the podcast and I've got a blog. And if you really want to go deep, you can learn more about how we train you and do that. And if you're, and by the way, I'm helping rich people now. So if you're a credit investor, I can make you wealthy. So we're actually partnering with people and have a done for you land program as well. But you've got to be an accredited investor.
All right, we're going to link all of that up in the show notes, folks, so you can come into Mark Podolsky's world. And what an amazing world it is to be in. Super fun to chat with you, my friend, to be in your ecosystem. And I'm just thankful that we've been hanging out with each other for over 10 years now. Thank you for coming on the show.
Matthew, it's so great. I'm just curious, of all the places you've been now, if I said you can't leave, you can have your friends, your family, everyone can visit, but you can't leave this one place, where would you hang your hat?
Man, that's an insanely difficult question. However, I am about to go to Brazil for the rest of this year. And one of the reasons that I'm going to Brazil is because it is an absolutely uniquely spectacular country, and it's completely massive. Like literally 50% of the population of South America lives in Brazil. I mean, it is an enormous country and it's super diverse and it has so much stuff in it. So if you said, I need to be confined to one country, I feel like I might pick Brazil. It is one of my all-time favorite countries, but also there are so many different types of experiences you can have within Brazil without leaving. I think I go with that one.
All right. I'm packing my bags.
Come visit, man. Come visit. Yeah. I literally gave you my dates and my info, so feel free to come through, my friend, and we can hang out in Brazil. I'll buy you a caipirinha and show you around. So this was amazing, my friend. Always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for coming on the show, Mark.
Thanks, brother.
If you are interested in building your rental property portfolio, I recorded a free video training on how to buy turnkey rental properties in out-of-state markets. In it, I show you exactly how to buy cash flowing rental properties in the most investor advantaged US real estate markets with tenants and local property management already in place so that you don't have to be the landlord or the rehabber or live near the property. You can watch it right now Just go to maverickinvestorgroup.com/turnkey. That's maverickinvestorgroup.com/TURNKEY. Just a reminder that nothing on this show should be considered specific financial, tax, or investment advice. Please consult an appropriate tax, legal, real estate, or financial professional for individualized advice. Opinions of the host and the guest are their own. All investment strategies carry risk and have the potential for profit or loss. Always conduct your own due diligence and consult with appropriate advisors before buying any real estate.